excited to be kicking this off. Just going to wait like 30 seconds as people start to funnel in. Just as a quick introduction, I'm Ashlyn, the founder and CEO of Because. We are hosting this webinar with a ton of amazing panelists. We're super excited to get you guys ready for the holidays and think about how to capitalize on quiz data to convert on site during the holidays. Let me go ahead and share my screen and make sure you guys can see and hear me. We all good? You guys can see my screen? Okay, awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So as I said, I'm Ashlyn, the founder and CEO of Because. Super excited to get you guys ready for the holidays, just thinking about how to capitalize on the increased traffic that's coming to your websites, getting all of that traffic to give you as much data as possible about their interests and their preferences, and then using all of that data via personalized email and personalized on-site messaging to be able to get those site visitors to move through to buyers. We are running this webinar with a few partners, including Octane AI, powering the quiz side. We have Klaviyo powering your whole email side. And then we do also have Roswell, which is a partner agency of ours that can help with this whole setup. We do also have Dennis here from TB12, so I'll give some intros on him in a second. But we do have Tom Brady's brand TB12 as our featured customer for this webinar. It's going to give us a great opportunity to really show you guys in a real way how this is all implemented on site and the results that they've seen through those efforts. So let's go ahead and get started. So a little bit about our agenda for today. We are going to be walking you through from start to finish the entire flow of how to capitalize on all of this traffic that's coming to your site during your holiday season, which is likely increased due to the holidays, thinking about how to convert them. We're then going to walk you guys through how to use Octane AI's quiz functionality to capture all of your preference and interest data about your site visitors. We're obviously going to be talking about this for Tom Brady's TB12 today, which is a supplements brand. We will talk about this across a number of different industries, regardless of what you sell, of how to use that to capture interest and preference data. Finally, we are also going to talk about how Roswell, a partner agency that works with all of us and also with TB12, how they plug in to help you actually get all of this set up and just take a lot of that heavy lifting off of your team, how they help you connect all of that data into Klaviyo to create segments based off of your site visitor data and your quiz results, and then use that to trigger both personalized emails and recommended products. Finally, we're going to talk about how to actually plug that into Because, to use rules on site to determine when and where different messaging is shown, and ultimately A/B test what converts best. So to take all that quiz data and ultimately use it for on-site personalization and get your customers purchasing. All right, so a little bit about the results. I love to start with this just because I think it will sort of orient us in, why this is so impactful and why we should be having this conversation and why you should take the next hour out of your day to actually hang out with us. So a little bit about Tom Brady's TB12 and the impact that they've actually seen. So through Octane AI, I'll share a little bit of those results first. They were able to see a 5.22% conversion rate, which was ultimately the percentage of site visitors that took the quiz that ended up moving through to purchase. They also saw a 32% email opt-in, which is at the end of the quiz, which you guys will fully see the visuals there. The end of the quiz actually asking the site visitor to opt in and capture email addresses, which I don't have to express to you how important that is, we all know. On the Because side, Tom Brady's TB12 saw a 13% conversion increase. We'll help you guys do some of that math and give you a sense of how much additional revenue that could mean for your business. But ultimately, the idea here is to capitalize on the site visitors already on your site, move more of them through to purchase, and get that extra revenue from the site visitors that you've already taken the time to drive into your site. And also they were able to see a 3% add to cart rate increase. So tons of awesome impact that we're going to be highlighting today. So the next couple of slides, I'm going to be passing it off to an amazing panelist of speakers. And that panelist of speakers is essentially going to take you guys through every step of that journey. So as you're kind of joining the beginning of this webinar, you're probably thinking, whoa, this is a lot of stuff, especially with everything going on with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. We are going to break down every single piece of this process. We're actually going to give you a special offer at the end to help you guys set it up. So a little bit about intro. So as I said, I'm Ashlyn, the founder and CEO of Because. We are the on-site personalization piece. We do also have Aoife here, who is an account and partnerships lead over at Octane AI, the quiz piece. We have Dennis, who is our star of the show today over from Tom Brady's TB12. He's the e-commerce manager over there. And then we have Ian from the Klaviyo side. He is on the tech partnerships team. And then finally, we have Ryan, who is an associate director of retention marketing at Roswell, which is the partner agency that can essentially do all of this for you and make it happen. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dennis. Dennis, as I said, is from TB12, and he's the e-commerce manager over there. Dennis, I would love for you to just kind of start by sharing a little bit of the story of how you found all of us, how these souls all got connected, and what kind of problems you were trying to solve. And as you move, I'll flip through the slides so I can get your story going.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me to this panel. And yeah, excited to share about our experience. So for those of you who don't know, TB12 is a health and wellness brand founded by Tom Brady, and it was really founded upon the principles of the TB12 method. And what that basically is it's kind of the secret behind Tom's longevity and success throughout his football career. And so we sell products that really support that method. We sell things like protein powder, electrolytes, and supplements. And so throughout Tom's long and successful career, we really benefited as a brand from his on-field performances. And this was especially true as he got later on into his career. So, you know, Tom playing every Sunday and the announcer speaking about him and talking about his longevity, you know, something like winning a Super Bowl, that would create a huge impact for our brand that we've had to kind of learn to comp against now with his retirement. So with him retiring earlier this year, we've really had to learn to be successful without those factors. So what we would try to do is find a new top of funnel activation that would really allow us to not only engage with our customers a little bit more, but also move them down the funnel. And so this is where Octane came in. There you go, Ashland. And what Octane really allowed us to do is kind of get to know our customer a little bit better, provide a thoughtful recommendation to them based on a product we think fits their needs, and also allow us to move them down our funnel. So from there, we built that quiz with Octane, and then Ryan and his team at Roswell, they helped us build out the Klaviyo integration and not only create dynamic segments, but also create a results flow with a dynamic product block that we could then send to the customers. So from there, we really had a personalized email experience, but we're really looking to take that one step further and continue that personalized experience on our website. So when we started working with Because, they really allowed us to do exactly that. So what Because allowed us to do is really connect their campaigns to the Klaviyo segments that we built out with Roswell and their team, and really create a unique experience for whoever's visiting the site. So if one customer came to the site and was recommended the multivitamin, another came and was recommended the electrolytes, they would be seeing two different messages on the site. And yeah, so from there, I'll pass it on to you guys and kind of dig into the details a little bit more.
All right, awesome. Dennis, thank you so much. We really just appreciate having you here to hear directly from you the impact that you've seen across all of these pieces coming together. So that was a little bit of like the high level overview of, you know, how Dennis found all of these platforms and, you know, why he wanted to bring them together in order to increase conversion on his site. What we're going to do in the following sections is have each platform and agency speak to how we actually set up all these pieces. So if you guys are following along, maybe you're inside of your Klaviyo accounts, maybe you're inside of your Because accounts, or for anyone that doesn't use those platforms yet, just take some notes. You can follow along in actually how all this was set up. So I'm going to pass it over to Aoife. I'm going to go ahead and let you take over screen sharing and just give you an opportunity to share how TB12 is able to set up that quiz experience. And then from there, we will pass it off over to the Klaviyo side to hear more about how it connects into Klaviyo.
Sounds good. Okay, let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm Aoife. I'm the Accounts and Partnerships Lead at Octane AI, and Dennis described us perfectly. We are no-code quizzes that you can build for your websites to help your customers get personalized product recommendations, and then also collect data, collect email or SMS opt-ins, and then use all of that, hopefully with Because and Klaviyo. For now, I'm going to take you through the quiz as a customer so you can see how our quizzes perform and what they look like on the website. And then I'll move over to Octane's dashboard The TB12 team has very kindly said we can look at all of their stats. So I'll take you through all of that, but just starting with the quiz on the website. So you can see here the quiz is placed on the homepage, which is a fantastic placement. The quiz works really well for new customers coming to the site or anyone who might be struggling to convert a little bit. So this placement is really good. And then we're going to jump into the quiz. So with the quiz, we like to keep them quite short and easy for the customer to understand. Otherwise, we've just seen the drop-off rates really skyrocket. And we also like to let the customer know how long the quiz is going to take. You can see here we've take our 60-second quiz, and that's just giving the customer a time frame, really, that they're not going to have to spend all day taking a quiz. So I'm going to jump in. Which of the following health goals is your top priority? I am going to say energy and focus. How old are you? And you can see here that TB12 has actually added some informational pieces, which are really helpful, especially in the health and wellness industry. Some people might want to know why you would need that information. So having that there is a great piece to add. How do I identify female? When it comes to a healthy living, active lifestyle, I am going through phases, I would say. I don't follow a specific diet, and I do have some vitamins. And fatigue. There's kind of a trend with my answers that might be a bit tired, but how often do I exercise? 1 to 2 times. And then I'll just fly through the rest of the questions. On TB12, for some of their questions, they do give people the option to select multiple answers, which is great, especially, again, for health and wellness, because some people might have a few issues going on or a few things that they need help with. So always great to do that as well. And now we are at the email opt-in piece. So because I'm giving my email, I'm going to get my quiz results sent to me via email, but also on the Klaviyo side, all of my answers are going to be synced to my Klaviyo profile as custom properties. So I can be put into segments then that are personalized to me, and I will also get a discount code, which is always nice. So we are going to our results page now. So these are my personalized product recommendations based on my answers. You can see I have my discount code here, and then I have the option to either one-time purchase, I can subscribe and save as well. So we do integrate with subscription platforms, and I can add to cart directly from here, or I can learn more and go to the product page if I want to find out a bit more about that brand, or sorry, about the product, I should say. I also have the option to add all to cart. And then as we scroll down, we do have an upsell section. So this is kind of generic products that will work for everyone. And this is a great feature to add if you want to increase your average order value. And then we have a guide for anyone who is new to TB12 as well. So that's everything for the quiz on the website. I'm going to move over to our Octane dashboard now. So with Octane, we do have a few products. We have our quizzes and pop-ups. With the pop-ups, you can turn your quiz into a pop-up. So a lot of people will use that for either a welcome pop-up on the homepage, or it works really well as an exit intent as well. So if someone's leaving the site without purchasing, you can trigger a quiz pop-up, give them a bit more help before they're leaving, and still collect their opt-ins, but give them a product recommendation all within the pop-up. But for today, I'll just focus on our quizzes. So this is our quiz tab. And this nutrition quiz is the one that we just viewed together. You can see here we have a feature where you can copy quizzes. So we do have a copy in here. And with the copy quiz feature, it's great for A/B testing. So if you wanted to test a different incentive in your opt-in page, you can do that with this feature. So that's a nice little feature that we have as well. And I'm just going to go through their analytics for this quiz. So this is analytics for the last 30 days. So we do give a lot of data when you launch a quiz, and it's instant as well. So once you have your quiz live and traffic going through it, you'll be able to see all of these stats. So we have our starts, our completion rate. This is a really good completion rate. We usually aim for 65% upwards. So this is quite strong. And with the rest of the data that I'll go through, we can always do things to optimize the quiz and improve the performance. We have our email opt-ins as well, our revenue, and then our conversion rate. And another stat that I like to look at a lot is the average order value. So for TB12, the average order value is $102, which is fantastic. And the other stats that we have are the top products ordered throughout the quiz. And then something that our team would look at a lot are the drop-off rates, the average time spent on a question, and then the most popular answers. This is really going to help us optimize the quiz, which is something that we've worked on a bit with Dennis and will continue to work on. It's a work in progress. But the first page of a quiz always has a bit of a higher drop-off rate. That's why we put in that take our 60-second quiz. It kind of helps alleviate that drop-off rate. But the rest of the stats are really good. The drop-off rates are very, very low. And even with the email opt-in, usually it's 10% or it can be higher sometimes, but their drop-off rate is 7.5. So it's really good. So this quiz performs really well. We can definitely continue to work on it, but it's a really strong quiz. And the fact that they use icons and imagery throughout it is great. And that they've built out their results page really, really helps with things. But that's pretty much everything for TB12. Obviously, we work with other verticals as well. And for anyone who's interested in using Octane, but they might not be in the health and wellness or the vitamin sector, we do have these pre-made templates. So we have templates that are based on our most popular verticals that we work with. You can see these are the different templates here, and I'll just show you what that looks like. So our templates are pre-populated questions, answers, and they're already designed as well. So if you wanted to get started with Octane and launch a quiz, you could do that within an hour. You can change the questions so they're obviously more on brand for you, but it comes fully designed. You're basically ready to go. And so you can see here, this is what it looks like. Obviously, it doesn't make sense for TB12, but that's how it would look. And then the other option we have as well is an AI quiz. And I've created one here in TB12's account, but basically it will look at all of the information that you have in your Shopify store and generate questions, answers, and product results in less than a minute. So you can basically get started with Octane and launch a quiz. And we have 14 trial days. So you can basically launch a quiz and start generating revenue before you ever pay for us. So yeah, that's pretty much everything from me.
Awesome. We love it. Generating revenue before you even have to pay. Sounds like a great offer. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and I'm going to introduce Ian. Reminder, Ian is over on the tech partnerships team at Klaviyo. So everything that Aoife was just talking about of, getting this quiz set up on your site, starting to capture all of this data about your customer preferences and interests to be able to recommend the appropriate products for them. How does that actually start to be used, right? What do you do with all of that data? So what we're going to go through with Ian is essentially how to connect all of that data into Klaviyo. I know there was a question that came through around do these segments get automatically created, or do we have to create the segments based off the information you collect? So I'm sure Ian will touch on that a little bit, and then we'll actually have Ryan go through some of that as well. So Ian, I'll go ahead and turn the table over to you. And as you're moving through, I will move the slides for you.
Perfect. Appreciate it. So if you could click on the next slide. First of all, super excited to be speaking on this panel today. It's awesome seeing partners on both the technology side to leverage and extend kind of our own use cases with our platforms, but then also to have a great brand in TB12 and then Roswell as an agency to actually bring these use cases to life. So long before Klaviyo ever sent its first email, we actually started as a database company. You'll hear the word CDP get thrown around a little bit more. We just launched a product line that opens up a little more capability around the reporting aspects and also piping out data from Klaviyo. But really the core of our power has always been that we have a database where we can map different customer profile properties down to a specific customer profile. So this picture here I love because it kind of speaks to this use case, right? So Octane's such a great software, and it really kind of mirrors that in-store experience of understanding your customer. So when someone comes into a store, what are you shopping for today? What are your interests? What are your hobbies? And you can kind of formulate what different products to pick out for that person. Octane's essentially doing that, but on site. And so what they're doing is capturing a lot more specific data on that customer. It then gets posted back to Klaviyo to that customer profile that we'll show here. But what Because is doing is it actually extending that personalized experience, which we can take over email and SMS to the actual on-site. So this is what gets me out of the bed in the morning, like very, very pumped to speak about this. And then Ashlyn, if you can move to the next slide, I'll walk you through what it looks like from a customer profile level. So this is really kind of the core of Klaviyo, is these customer profiles. And through our integrations, we're able to track events that happen about that customer. So specifically for Octane, it's a quiz event. So understanding, hey, did someone complete the quiz? And then what's the different kind of attributes and the answers to those questions? So this will get posted back to Klaviyo. And why events are so powerful is that they can be used to trigger and pause flows, which Ryan's actually going to take you through a few unique ones for Octane here in a second. But this can also update the properties about that specific customer. So on the left-hand side, you'll see kind of those quiz results take place, and then that can be used to segment your customers. So you can start sending them more personalized messaging based on their interests and hobbies and things that you're collecting on that quiz. So popping over to the next slide, we'll actually go through some of the different segments that Roswell and TB12 set up with all the data that Octane's collecting, and then how Because is actually going to be using that data to power the on-site experience. So like I said, we're collecting a lot of that information through the quiz. And what I really like how this was set up is they mapped it back to need states or interests. So general health, recovery, energy performance, sleep, protein, hydration. So you now have an understanding of what their interests are, kind of based in those categories. And then those segments can be powered to send emails, SMS, but now also take it to that on-site experience. So you're really speaking to the customer how they want to be spoken to. And it's kind of like the core of our Klaviyo mission. So this makes me happy. That's all I had. And I'll pass it along to Ryan to see how you can take action across like flows and different campaigns.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let Ryan share his screen. Kind of love a Zoom world. We're just all sharing screens here.
Thanks, Ashlyn and Ian. Now I'm going to dive into the post-quiz completion experience in Klaviyo. So if we think about the actions a quiz taker has done so far, we know they've likely entered their email to be subscribed to email marketing. They've also been served up their quiz results right on site. We want to make sure both these activities are complemented by email flows, as we know that in many cases, consumers will take some time to deliberate if they want to buy the products they're recommended. So starting with the email opt-in, we recommend having a welcome series that triggers immediately. And as you can see, this flow has a 2-minute wait time after someone has entered the Octane AI list before sending that first email. Related to content, you have the option to make this as tailored to the quiz as you like, or keep it more general, knowing that you'll also be sending a quiz results recap email, which I'll show you shortly. Related to email number 1 for TB12, I just wanted to kind of walk you through a general sense of what we're doing here. We want to give them their, sort of thanks for signing up for the email list, a little bit of welcome, as well as education to TB12. But really, we want to also, share what that welcome code is so that they can use that on the recommended products that we're giving them. Alrighty. So I'll move on to the quiz results. Like I said before, we want to make sure the customer has them if they don't purchase right away and close their tab. And as you can see here, we've created a flow that triggers when the quiz is completed. We want those results to be sent to them regardless of whether they purchase or not, because even if they do buy, they may not buy all recommended products, and they can always go back for another time to get them. Moving into the actual email here, what's great about Octane AI's integration with Klaviyo is that they send all the data in a usable format. So this means that in flows like this, we can create dynamic product blocks that contain the name, image, and link of the products. And as you can see here on the right, all this data lives in the event properties. Additionally, we also, like Ian mentioned, have the quiz answers to use at our disposal. So if you'd like to create a tailored experience to someone who for an example, is a specific gender or follows a particular diet, you can do so by triggering or branching the flows of this data. And as you can see in the preview, there are recommended products. So I'll just scroll down here. And I'll show you now what it looks like if a user wanted to get back to the results page. You just need to scroll down to go to my results and hit the button. So for an example, we're looking at this email here, or this person's event here, and this is what they were recommended. And if we go to their results page, it's tailored to them. And really, you can see here, it's just a matter of clicks from going from email to results page to making a purchase. So hopefully this gave you some ideas about how to create a really seamless experience for the customer from quiz completion to purchase, really by just layering in a few touch points from Klaviyo flows. So I'll unshare my screen here.
All right, awesome. I'm going to take back over screen sharing. All right, so you guys have gotten the full overview of how to set up your quiz on site using Octane, how to connect that into Klaviyo. And the last piece is, how do you take all of that data that you already have at your fingertips that your customers and your site visitors are filling out to tell you what their preferences and their interests are? How do you take all of that data and then drive personalized on-site experiences? So that's where Because comes in at the end here. Just as a quick reminder, I'm Ashley, the founder and CEO of Because. I'm going to walk you guys through some examples of how we were able to take all of this data, be able to drive content on TB12's site, so that when a site visitor arrives on site, we're able to adapt and change the messaging and content that they're seeing accordingly. So first, I'm going to give you guys a teaser just to give you a little bit of an overview of how this kind of comes to life on TB12's site. So the first thing that I'll say is Because is a no-code solution that sits on top of Shopify. And we use data from places like Shopify and Klaviyo in order to power on-site personalization. You can sort of think of us as like a Zapier for your on-site personalization, where we're capitalizing on all the data you already have available to you, like Dennis did, that you're not currently using for your site. You're probably only using it in email and SMS that you can now use for your site. So we use our Klaviyo integration. We are directly integrated into Klaviyo in order to identify who a site visitor is when they arrive on site. What we do is we basically use Klaviyo cookies. So if your site visitor has opted into Klaviyo cookies, we will know who they are, and we can identify what segment they're a part of when they arrive on site. What's really valuable about that is that the site visitor does not have to be arriving directly from one of these emails. While you could target someone that's coming direct from one of your campaigns or flows, that is also an option. You can actually have someone coming just to the site on their own. Let's say they just typed in, TB12 on their own. We still want to know who that site visitor is, and we want to know what that quiz data was, what the results were from that quiz. So when someone comes to site, we are using Klaviyo cookies, and we can identify what quiz they're in. So as an example, you guys saw Ryan share his screen with all the different need states that TB12 has associated with their quiz, whether someone needs more energy or someone needs more protein or more electrolytes. Regardless of what product you guys sell, maybe you would recommend like a shirt or pants, or maybe you would recommend like a different type of skincare. Whatever those results are, when a site visitor comes to site, you'll be able to know what those results were, and then you'll be able to essentially cater that entire on-site experience accordingly. So this is a teaser. I'm going to show you guys like the full walkthrough of how we're doing this on site with TB12, but this is an example of a top bar. So the way that Because works is we basically help to drive a dynamic experience on site. So we take content that was previously static, text and image-based content throughout your site, and we make it dynamic. So we take over text and image-based content that can now be powered by data like Octane data. So this is an example of someone comes to site and they got the quiz result that they need more multivitamins. And this will basically take over the top bar and say, based on your quiz results, our TB12 multivitamin would be perfect for you. That is also hyperlinked to the multivitamin. This is an example of taking over a very static part of your site. Almost everyone has a top bar. I could guarantee you guys are all sharing shipping information in your top bar. When your site visitor first comes to site, that's not the first thing that they need to know. They haven't even started shopping, right? So this is kind of taking all of that data you guys have at your fingertips and being able to connect it into your on-site experience so that your site visitors are getting the appropriate recommendations. The next thing I want to show you guys is a little bit about the impact that TB12 saw with Because. So we do have A/B testing that powers this entire experience. Every single on-site implementation powered by all of this Octane data is A/B tested to see how it converts. This is another great way to take a lot of the efforts that you've been doing on the email and SMS side and a lot of this data you have available to you and actually bring it to life on site and understand how it's working. A lot of the marketing teams that we work with just feel like they don't have a ton of insight into how things are performing on their site, especially with the sunset of Google Optimize. They don't feel like they have a lot of options around A/B testing, especially in a no-code way without their developer. So this A/B testing dashboard is a view of the results that TB12 has seen using Because. This also gives you a little bit of a sense of how all of that Octane data is performing as well. So for our A/B testing, this is ultimately giving the site visitor an opportunity to either see the content or not see the content, depending on if they're in the test or the control group, and then tracking things like add to cart rate, conversion rate, AOV, all of the above. So I want to paint a little bit of a picture for all of you guys in thinking about all this site traffic that's coming to your website in Q4, how to actually capitalize on those site visitors and move them through to purchase. This is just a hypothetical scenario. We might have brands on this call that have way higher site traffic or way lower site traffic or totally different AOV. That's totally fine. This is just kind of meant to be a bit of like a standard example. So let's say that your current conversion rate is 2%. Let's say you have 200,000 monthly site visitors currently coming to your site, and you have around a $50 AOV. If you were able to increase your conversion rate on site by 10% by using everything that we're talking about today, you would be able to get to a new conversion rate of 2.2%. So going from 2 to 2.2%, which would be an additional 400 orders and an additional $20,000 in monthly revenue. So that just gives you a little bit of a sense of the potential impact. With TB12, obviously they saw a 13% conversion increase. So that was even higher than the conversion increase that we're saying is an average. So tons of opportunity for you to capitalize on the site visitors you guys already have and move them through to purchase. So I'm going to take you guys through a little bit about how all this is set up. So just returning to that top bar example, this is an example of a dynamic top bar on site. I'm going to show you guys how this is actually set up on the back end inside of Because. So Because is integrated directly into Shopify. You can access this via your app list, just like you would Klaviyo or Octane. And when you are inside of Because, you have first a no-code editor experience where you can design your content. So you can design your bars, your badges, image, text, essentially any content throughout your site. And you can make it look however you'd like, kind of like a Canva-like experience without having to get a developer or a designer involved. Then you can go into our rules engine, and our rules engine is like an if this, then that type of experience. This is very similar to like how you would build out a Klaviyo segment or how you would even build out like tags or collections inside of Shopify. It's a very familiar experience for a lot of our merchants. And the first thing that you're going to do is determine when and where you want this to show on your site and to whom. So what Because does is it basically connects all these data sources we've been talking about today. So for this top bar, for example, Dennis and team said, I want this top bar to show anywhere on my site. So I want it to be kind of sticky throughout the whole experience, which is where the first rule is set. So site visitor page is any. And the second thing is that he wanted to make sure this was only shown to any site visitors who are arriving on the site who did receive those results from the quiz that they needed the multivitamins. So if someone comes to the site and they, for example, got the quiz results where they were suggested protein, they would not see this. So the first rule is Klaviyo segment is Octane/Because need state is general health. These segments can be named whatever you'd like. That's the whole piece that the team was going over in the middle of this webinar. And then the second rule here is actually a negative rule. So you can do either positive or negative rules in order to include or exclude different segments of site visitors. This second rule is essentially excluding all of the other sets of segments. So everyone else that took the quiz and any other results that they might have. This was something that we definitely navigated, like how to avoid overlap between the quiz results and making sure that there's messages are not being shown to the same site visitor twice. So that's really where exclusion rules are helpful. And this is also something the Roswell team really understands how to navigate. So if you guys are feeling intimidated on how to set this up, Roswell literally just did this for Tom Brady's site. So thinking about like how to make sure these segments are not overlapping and making sure that they're all super clean, that's definitely something they can help with. So that's a little bit about how that's set up. The only other thing I wanted to mention here is that we are directly integrated to Klaviyo. You just add in your API key. So when you are inside of our rules engine, you are going to see a drop-down menu that will show you all of your Klaviyo segments. So let's say you guys went and got started with Octane in the next couple of weeks. You got your quiz set up. You got a bunch of results and data associated with all the traffic from the holidays. Once those are all flowing into Klaviyo segments, those Klaviyo segments will be inside of Because in the drop-down menu, and you'll just be able to use those as rules. So this is how it all kind of comes together. The second example we have for you guys is of badges. So this is an example of a badge on your collection page. A lot of the time, collection pages are primary landing pages for a lot of your emails and your text. You might even be sending a lot of let's say you like send out the quiz results from Octane, you might be sending them to a collection page. The goal here is how do we tell the customer what to shop? How do we tell them like what might be most interesting for them, especially if you have like a pretty broad catalog or even products that are confusing. So the example here is a badge that says picked for you. This is essentially going to show up on any products that would be relevant to that site visitor based off their quiz results. Badges are just one example of a content type that Because supports, and I'll show you all the others in a second. But the way that we powered this particular badge from a setup perspective is we said that we wanted it to show on any collection page where they actually have the product multivitamin. So any product that's multivitamin on the collection page, we wanted to be able to show this badge. And then we did that same targeting around the multivitamin segment. So Klaviyo segment is Octane multivitamin, and then the same negative rules as well to make sure that it's not shown to anyone who got a different quiz result. This is just a really great way to take, again, a badge, which is typically a very static type of content on your site, typically managed through your Shopify theme or maybe even custom coded, that you probably have zero idea how it's actually converting because there's no A/B testing. It's a great way to take that type of content and use it in a more dynamic way and get a sense of how it's actually converting. The last example we have is of a cart message. So because can also support in-cart messaging, this is an example of just being able to kind of give the customer a nudge based off of what's in their cart and make sure that they are moving towards those recommended products, again, servicing that same Octane data throughout the entire experience. So if you have a slide out cart, if you have a full screen cart, if you're like TB12 and you're using the rebuy cart, this is actually the rebuy cart, you can integrate into that super seamlessly. So we're going to inherit all the styling, sizes, colors, fonts, all that stuff. And we do load right after the page loads for any of this messaging content. So it does not have any impact on your site performance. And the way that this one is set up, so that you can see that they do not have a multivitamin in their cart. They're shopping a roller. We want to get them towards the multivitamins because they clearly need it based off their quiz results. We have that little prompt there to get to the multivitamins. And the way that this is set up, the first rule is that the site visitor's cart does not have the product multivitamin. So you can see here, multivitamin is not in cart. You can also do a positive rule there. So you could, instead of like cart does not contain, you could say cart does contain. And then you can layer, again, that Klaviyo segment in. So Klaviyo segment is multivitamin. The way that we then recreated these across all of the other segments and quiz results was we just took those same 3 campaigns and we cloned them across every single segment. So let's say you ended your quiz with like 6 different segments with all the different need states across protein, electrolytes, multivitamins. You can then just clone those out and just change the segments and change the negative rules as well. Okay, so that was a full overview of how this was used on TB12 site. I'm going to give you guys just a quick overview of some of the other ways that you can use Because on site. And then I'm going to take you guys into a special offer that all of the people here have put together for you to actually help you guys make this happen. So just a quick overview of Because. So we do support the entire pre-purchase journey across the homepage, collection page, product page, and cart. I already showed you guys the example of the cart experience, so we can support messaging in the slide out cart, full screen cart, product page. That's something that I didn't show you guys, but we do also support messaging on the product page, which is also very valuable if those quiz results are being sent over email or text, and those are pushing straight to a PDP. Let's make sure we're continuing that messaging on the PDP as well. Collection page we talked about, obviously, with the badges, and then we also can support that sticky top bar across the entire site. And the only one that we didn't talk about yet is homepage, which would be for image testing. So we can also do image testing, which is also really cool from an Octane perspective, to be able to direct people to the appropriate image. Let's say that we did a quiz, let's say for TB12, they got the gender of like male versus female. Maybe we show like Tom Brady for anyone who's male and one of your like female influencers. I think Olivia Amato was one of my favorite like Peloton instructors. Show one of her, her images instead to make it resonate. So tons of opportunity there to be able to personalize. Content types, I showed you guys the example of badges. We do also support banners, bars, text blocks. We saw that example, and then image content as well. The final piece is all the data types. So I'm just going to do a quick teaser of some of the other data types that we support. We do integrate into all of the Shopify data directly. So across your product tags, collections, inventory, stock, essentially all of that Shopify product data connects in automatically, which is how we were able to show the badges on the correct products. That's how we were able to identify what was in cart. We do also integrate into all that Klaviyo data. So tapping into Klaviyo cookies to be able to identify site visitors that are coming from a certain campaign or flow or a segment. And then via Klaviyo, as Ian mentioned, Klaviyo is this like CDP that essentially connects all of these data sources into email and SMS. We are using all of those data sources for on-site personalization. So just a couple of examples would be with Octane, Loyalty Lion, Recharge, essentially any other like third-party data source that is being plugged into Klaviyo. All of that can be identified when a site visitor comes to site to understand what segment they're a part of. Let's say someone comes to site and we know that they're like a loyal customer versus a first-time customer. That's something that we could then change the messaging on site accordingly. Okay, that is the full overview of Because and Octane and Klaviyo and Roswell and everyone. So let me give you guys a little bit of an offer on how to actually take advantage of this. If you're coming away from this webinar being like, this sounds really cool, but literally where do I start? this is where you start. So we have first a bundle offer between Because and Octane. So Because and Octane are partners. We would love to be able to set this up with you guys together. If you are interested in getting this set up, either let's say you're super ambitious, you want to get this live before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we got you. If you want to start to think about this for Q4, we're happy to do a call with you, whether we do it all together or you can do it separately with Because and Octane. But if you do sign up by the end of the year with Because and Octane, we will apply a 30% discount. Just mention that you were part of this webinar and that you were interested in signing up. And if you don't want to do any of this yourself, because your team is probably resource strapped and you want someone that's an expert and that already knows how to work with all these partners, Roswell is our suggested agency. Roswell works with Tom Brady's brand TB12. That's actually how we got connected in the first place. They're also a partner of Octane's and of course a partner of ours. We highly recommend them and their services to be able to set up all of this, the full connection between Octane and Klaviyo and Because, and they do also offer a ton of other services as well. They are offering a 20% discount if you sign up by end of year. All right, that's the end of the offers. So we are going to move into our Q&A section. I know we did already have a couple of questions that came in. I wanted to cover that question from Sarah. I think it was related to, do these segments get automatically created after the Octane quiz is over? I don't know if someone from the Octane or even Roswell side wants to answer that.
I'm happy to hop in there too. Sarah, I think I shot you a message back on that, but so essentially based on the quiz, and Octane would work with you on setting up that quiz. And then we would help kind of extrapolate the data on like, hey, what are we trying to identify about that customer? We'd help build those segments for you. And I would also promote Roswell here because they can help with the whole setup and then actually how to take action on that data and then setting up some different campaigns like the ones that we kind of went over here today. But it's really a tailored experience. We have a lot of good resources and examples on how people are using that. But definitely Roswell is going to be the experts on like bringing that picture to life.
Did anyone want to add anything on that?
I mean, I just want to echo what Ian was saying. I think, it really does differ depending on the brand. And we want to be thoughtful about what we're doing, in creating those segments. But, there's so much room for opportunity to create flows based on someone's answer. I mean, for some other brands, like if, they wanted to differentiate, based on gender, for some of the flows that they're doing, we have that now to be able to use at our disposal. So it can be, obviously there's a ton that you can do. I think when you're setting it up, you want to set up the basics and then, leveraging Roswell, we can definitely take it from there and really create a beautiful experience.
All right, awesome. Well, we did have a few people submit questions in advance. So I do have some questions I'm going to run through here, but audience, please don't be shy. If you guys want to go into the Q&A or just put it in the chat, any questions that you guys have for any of these panelists, we're definitely happy to cover them. But in the meantime, Dennis, if you are up for sharing some more information, we would love to ask, what is one learning that you had while setting this all up, really throughout the entire process? Like one tip or trick that you were kind of surprised by that might help other people avoid pitfalls?
Yeah, I'd say you're probably not going to get it like perfect the first try. But thankfully, Octane has all the analytics within their piece. So like you can see where customers are dropping off on a certain question, either drop that, edit the wording. And then with Because you're really able to A/B test everything. So through testing and learning, you can really learn quickly and create really the experience you're looking for.
Awesome. A little bit of trial and error based off how the data is performing. Sounds like e-commerce in general. All right, awesome. Question for Octane. Where are the best on-site placements for my quiz?
So the best on-site placement from a few tests that we've run is definitely the navigation bar. Especially if it's like a clear tab on its own, it's just obviously a very visible spot. So that works really well. The way TB12 have a place on the homepage. Usually if you combine the homepage and navigation bar, that works fantastic. A few of our clients put it on their product pages as well as a call to action. So if someone's doing their product research, but they're still struggling a bit, we can bring them to a quiz, get them to answer a few questions and give them a personalized recommendation. But it really works well anywhere that you might need it. So Blog posts, email flows, welcome series, and browse abandonment are really popular for the quiz. Social media, paid ads, anything like that. So you can use the quiz wherever you want to capture data or you want to help your customers.
On the opposite side, I'm curious, are there any places that are like common mistakes of where people end up putting the quiz where it's not successful?
Yes. So some of our signups or our merchants would they'll test a quiz by just putting it in their ads, and it doesn't always perform the best there. You do kind of have to think of it as, is someone who's like brand new to your brand will they want to take a quiz and go through that whole journey? They probably won't. So we usually like to put it somewhere that's getting consistent traffic so you can truly see the results of a quiz. But we have put together a full paid ad strategy just because we saw people were kind of struggling with it. So we do have a full strategy on that if anyone needs help with it.
Okay, that's great. I wouldn't have thought of that. It makes a lot of sense. All right, Klaviyo. Ian, how else should I be using this data inside of Klaviyo? Are there any other like topics that we didn't cover and ways to use this?
So that was actually a really interesting last point on not using the quiz in ads. I do think what you can do with a lot of these segments is actually power better ads. So we have direct integrations with both Meta and then Google. So, one, you could do win back campaigns for specific people and then target them based on like the product interests. But what you could also do to fuel the top of the funnel is actually trying to acquire more customers that are in that specific segment. So build a lookalike audience to attract more customers that are like those folks. And you have so much rich first and zero party data that you can actually oftentimes like drive down your customer acquisition costs and your ad spend via like having more data on those customers and building, a less generalized segment. So I think that could be a really cool use case, especially around the holidays here. If you're looking to push a specific product in one of those that pertain to a specific segment that you're capturing the data on, that could be another cool way too to target ads that are more relevant to folks that, kind of meet that demographic that you're identifying through Octane.
That's a genius use case. I love that.
Yeah. And then because can help drive them down the funnel too. So it just all kind of works as an engineer.
It's like a magical equation that all connects. I love it. Okay, it looks like we got a question from the audience. Are you auto building audiences in Meta from segments? Is any of that automatic?
So with the integration, essentially you can push any of your segments into Meta to build audiences on it. So you could do just like the segment to do like a win back campaign, or you could take that segment to build an audience for like a lookalike audience. So we see a lot of customers doing that. I love that use case too, when you like bring in loyalty. So you're trying to attract more of those like high customer lifetime value customers and take those segments and build like lookalike audiences on, but it's straightforward integration. It's actually within our app, so you can easily connect between Meta. It's a couple minutes setup and then actually start piping over like you're doing with Because right now, where they're pulling in our segments. It'd work in a similar fashion.
That is really cool. Great tips, magical tips here. Okay, Roswell, question for you. Do you just do Klaviyo setup or do you offer other services as well?
Yeah, Roswell definitely offers services related to like Octane, because obviously Klaviyo, that really include full strategy implementation, design and development. We really take a thoughtful approach to each project that we're doing to ensure, we're creating something that is going to resonate with customers of that brand. And really the end goal is driving additional revenue. And really the goal of this is to ensure that we're connecting all of the apps that we're implementing with that brand's tech stack to amplify the efforts that they're already doing. So definitely have other services, both individually or all together. Of course, like I said, I think all together really makes everything flow well. But we've got all of our bases covered there and lots of experience.
All right. The last question we have is, how does your A/B testing functionality work on the Because side? I'll go ahead and answer that. So I teased this a little bit. I'll just go back to that other slide that we were on. So with our A/B testing functionality, we offer two different types of A/B testing. The first is testing against a blank control group, and then the second is testing like one message versus another, especially with the sunset of Google Optimize. I know a lot of merchants are looking for a dedicated A/B testing solution. So with our A/B testing on testing against a blank control group, what we do is we, when a site visitor first comes to site, we capture their Shopify session ID. Let's say that I come to the site and Ian comes to the site at the exact same time. One of us is going to be put into group A and the other is going to be put into group B. Group A is going to be that control group. So they'll essentially see the site with none of this on-site personalization, just, you know, a site as normal. And then site visitor B, which would be me, will see the personalized experience. So if you're running a lot of different A/B tests, let's say you're running all of these different, the badge, the cart, and the top bar with your Octane data, all of those that are all A/B testing will be seen by group B, which is seeing the A/B test, and then group A will see none of them. So there's no cross-pollination on that data. And then for group A and group B, both groups are being tracked across their add to cart rate, their conversion rate, their AOV, their clicks, all the above. So you're able to sort of see your impact across those two groups. The other question we get asked quite often is, well, how do I know if like I was actually able to drive a conversion increase? Let's say maybe Black Friday was the reason for the conversion increase. The way to think about that is that group A and group B are being shown this messaging at like essentially the exact same time. So if your conversion rate is higher during Black Friday, it will be higher on both groups. Let's say your conversion rate is like up from 2 to 2.5% during the holidays. It's going to be higher on both groups. So any incremental lift you see would be from that on-site personalization. All right, that's, I think, the end of our Q&A. Caleb, do we have any other questions from the audience?
No, not that I
Okay,
can see.
awesome.
I think we're good.
All right, well, we'll give everybody 9 minutes back in their day. So we will be sending out an email with a recap of this webinar. You guys can expect that from Caleb, who's our head of marketing over here at Because. And you will also receive the recording of this session. So if you want to share it with anyone on your team that missed it. And then you will also receive the deck that we went through. So if you guys want to click to any of the websites of the platforms that presented today, and then if you want to take advantage of any of those offers with that 30% discount on Because and Octane, the 20% discount on Roswell, if you sign up by the end of the year, you guys can take advantage of all of that. That's pretty much all we have for you guys, but I hope everybody has a wonderful Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Go crush it, get some sales, and we hope to work with you all soon. And thank you to all of our panelists for being a part of it.
See y'all.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone.